So that's 320 reality, and that's one of the projects that PeaceMidan is undertaking. And so in that poetry piece, they're exploring that theme of love. And the whole concept of love, intellectual engagement, innovation, and action, that's sort of the equation that PeaceMidan is going for in terms of success. So I sort of want to maybe start actually with Mr. Paul Dewar and ask, I mean, you're coming from a political background as well, an educational background, but where does love, do you think, fit into this sort of discussion about development and helping others?
Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me and putting this together. I think this is truly visionary. It is really connecting where people are at right now. Is I think people want to, as was suggested in the video, make a difference. And what you're doing here is doing that. And so I just want to applaud the work that you've done in organizing this tonight and everyone who's involved. You know, it's interesting. I thought of my different roles I play. I'm a parent. I have two sons. They're older now. But looking at the video, I've thought back to when they were infants and when my wife gave birth to both of them and the miracle that was and the profound feeling of love when you see something come to life. And I remember that as a little kid watching, you know, insects or watching nature and things coming to life, flowers, etc., and the wonder of it all. And I think at its base level, love is about wonder. It is about the idea that there are things bigger than ourselves, that there's mystery. And I think when we just boil things down to, you know, in politics too often, to us and them, to, you know, having a line metaphorically drawn and talk about the other, we forget about where we come from and what connects us. And for me, as an educator and as a politician, I look for opportunities to connect people to each other and remind ourselves of that notion of love, which is, it's about compassion, it's about understanding, it's about empathy. And I think what happens is we shy away from the whole word. Or as you said, you know, it's kind of cheesy sometimes because too many pop songs or bad Hollywood movies have done a poor treatment of it. But it's actually a fundamental value that we all engage in on a regular basis. And we need to liberate ourselves, I think, to be able to talk about it in a respectful way, in a way that creates the wonder. And I'll finish just my comments by just going back to something that I think really exemplified this very well and articulated it well, was when Mr. Layton died and he had that word. And I remember someone saying to me, you know, I can't believe it that, you know, Mr. Layton left that letter, but the fact that he talked about love. And when's the last time you heard a politician talk about love? And I think we need to honor that idea in politics. And that will take away that notion of other and look at what we have in common, talk about compassion, empathy, and maybe, just maybe, if we talk about love more, we might find the next level we want to see is that is peace. And you can't have one.
Well, I would agree with everything that Mr. Dewar has said here. Love definitely is a major fundamental part of the equation. I think that without love, you simply lack the basis upon which you can build the rest of your initiatives and you know, everything that you're trying to accomplish. So with PeaceMidan, what we're trying to do is you know, create this fundamental basis upon which to build our initiatives. And you know, love definitely is part of that equation in the sense that when we hear, you know, PeaceMidan, the name speaks for itself. Midan referring, of course, to a place or forum, and so obviously it translates as People's Square or Peace Square. And when we think of that, I think that encompasses very well this fundamental notion of love, that you know, we have to think about the people, and it is, as you have said, much bigger than the individual. Once we realize that we're all part of the same community, part of the same, human race and humanity, then, once we've accepted that and recognized that, we can move on to other things and actually talk about these solutions.
But it's a very idealized sort of way of looking at it. And from your experience in politics, how do you think, an organization like PeaceMidan can bring these ideas forward in places where, they're just, getting the first breath of ability to disagree publicly and sort of engage in that dialogue, which is not always pretty. So how do you think that message of love can actually sort of, come up for air in that kind of atmosphere?
Well, what a great question. I think if you look at what's happened in the last year and a bit, where the change that has occurred, what we now call the Arab Spring, but in other places as well, is where people for the first time had a voice that was heard. We all have a voice, but all too often it's not heard. And what I think grabbed all of us, I think of the momentous change and watching it from here in Canada in our somewhat safe perspective, was the notion that, wow, this is incredible change happening. I've been to some of the countries where some of that change is happening. I've been to Morocco, I've been to Jordan, I've been to Lebanon. And you can kind of situate yourself, and it's a question of solidarity in a way, in the best sense of the word. And so you say, well, if those changes can happen because people not decided to pick up guns, but decided to have a collective voice and be heard, then that is something that's very precious. That is something that needs to be honored. And for those who come after, or for those who want to say, how do we build on this? Here we can do what you're doing here. In countries where this change has happened, is to understand that to go to a regressive kind of behavior is not the way to go. To use violence is not the way to go. And that's very tempting, as you know, when you see the changes that are happening, because authoritarian power wants to keep its power. The kind of what some of my friends would call the reptilian response that happens, that is to use violence to preserve. We need to say, no, the whole essence of what happened and the change in the world we want has to be about cooperating, has to be about compassion. That's harder to do, but it means that when it's done, it will create opportunities for everyone. And finally, it's something that young people are naturally accustomed to, because they are idealistic in the best sense. And they are the ones who, when you look at the change that has happened, it didn't happen just because of them, but they're the ones who pushed it. And that's what surprised so many people, is young people coming together to share their vision and their love. Really was a love of their life. They wanted to see it change. And I think that what needs to happen is to preserve the authenticity of what happened. Don't regress. Don't turn to violence, and be creative, because at the end of it, it's all about having imagination, and really love is about being imaginative. And if we don't have imagination and love together, then we could see regression back, because there's nothing imaginative about violence. It's cruel, brutal, and it's deadening, not just in terms of the outcomes, but in terms of what it does to a spirit.
Right. So 320 Reality, I think, is a very creative kind of project. Maybe tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, well, tying into what Mr. Dewar is saying right here, that's exactly the goal of PeaceMidan, is we're trying to give different opportunities to everyone, but young people obviously can benefit from those opportunities as well. And what we're trying to do essentially is to find concrete solutions by soliciting people's participation through numerous types of projects. One of the main ones, of course, right now is 320 Reality. We're going to get into that a little bit later in the evening. But essentially, we want people's input, and we want people to be not just part of the solution, but we want them to define the solution. Yeah. And by involving everyone, we can actually get to somewhere that and that will be productive.
So 320 Reality, tell us about that.
Okay, so 320 Reality is an online video pitch fest. We're basically inviting everyone and anyone who has an idea to upload a 3-minute video of themselves on our website, 320reality.com. And from there, we will be proceeding to voting rounds. And the winners will be recipients of financial support and professional support to make their ideas a reality. So that's why we call it 320 Reality.
So again, we saw all of those themes that we discussed in terms of the love and that positive feeling in that video for the 320. Now they mentioned that when they upload their videos, they're going to vote on them. What happens after they vote?
Okay, so the way it works is we have 2 online voting rounds. People have until the 15th of February to upload their videos. And at that point, the voting goes on until a little bit longer, and then there'll be a second voting round with the top 15 videos that were selected from the first round. And the video selection process is based on popular votes, so the most popular votes will go through, as well as 5 of the 10 will be selected by our panel of judges. From then, the top 6 videos will get to be featured in our convention next September, being held in 2013 in California. And at that point, the 6 contestants will be able to make a 20-minute presentation in front of global thought leaders and specialists in various fields. And 3 winners will be selected from that process. So a grand winner and first and second runner-up.
Great, in California. Pretty sweet. Not winter in Ottawa, for sure. That sounds really good. Maybe I'll put it in the video just to have it. Excellent. Okay, great. So that's how it's going to work. So I think we'll just sort of conclude then just with some final thoughts. Maybe the importance of sort of being out there, and we touched on it in the first discussion, just being out there as global citizens in that sort of work.
Yeah, since I've been elected, and actually when I was an educator, I would always talk about this notion of a global citizen. It's become now more comprehensive, and people connect with that. We have the most connected generation growing up now than we've ever had. We have the most connected world we've ever had. We've never been literally this connected. And right now, politics is shifting all over the place. And I see that's a welcome thing for me. And I think when we see people being part of the solution, and it's not waiting for the great leader to take us to the promised land per se, it's that we're going to do this all together. And you think of all of the challenges we have, be it on climate change, be it on finding peace with each other, making sure that we have a sustainable world. It's going to take all of us. And the exciting thing about that is we have these tools now. We can talk to each other within seconds around the world. And people now get it. And for leaders who don't get it, I think they will just be pushed aside, and we see that happening. So this is exciting because it's a global commons we have. And more people are positive and want to push the idea of peace, compassion, and love than the minority who want to use brute strength. And when we have a connected world, we can make sure that that agenda is going to really be the one that is going to win in the end. But it will be all of us together, working together, as it was said there, to make a difference, and it's very exciting. So this is just a visionary thing that is going to help take us there, creating that space for peace, and I think that's wonderful.
I just wanted to add to that. I'm sure a lot of people here, I know I feel this way sometimes, have felt that, I feel like no one has thought of this, or no one has thought of doing things a certain way. And I know, from a very young age, I don't know who, I thought I was, but I thought sometimes that, if only have people thought of doing things this way, or if only I had a voice to express this. And what we're doing really is giving people that voice. We're saying, okay, we want to hear you. So if you have something to say, you can say it now. Yeah. So that's really what we're trying to do.
Thank you so much to both of you.